remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1, and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me?
And that's just with the small legal heroin program that's very tightly controlled. So if you took the, as I suggested, treatment on request, methadone maintenance, and a small heroin program for the most difficult cases, you are undermining the drug market so effectively. So effectively.
You know, one thing is, backing up just a little bit, it seems like the social context in which the war on drugs thrives is to some extent built on a massive, gigantic, huge process of public disinformation that amounts to billions of dollars that have been spent to get the American public to think about these issues in certain stereotyped ways.
No question about it.
For instance, and some of these issues are covered in Dr. John Morgan's book, Marijuana Facts. But one would be that drug use, or let's say marijuana use, equals
abuse.
Drug abuse.
Yes, that's right.
When
in fact the opposite is the more true. Among every drug, including crack and heroin, pick two more dangerous ones. If you look at the surveys done in the United States by the U.S. government of drug use, what you find is the vast majority of users of every drug use occasionally. They're not addicts, they're not daily users. They use once a month, a couple times a year. They're not hardcore users. And so the fact is, the vast majority of users can use these drugs responsibly. And because we've raised to face that reality, we have designed a drug war that assumes everybody's an abuser. And because we have that false premise, the policies don't fit, they don't work.
And furthermore, carrying some of these forces having to do with what the citizen's psyche, if you will, thinks of in terms of what's patriotic, what's good citizenship,
what's moral,
what is moral, getting right down to it. And the whole religious block, if you will, is basically, or has been, right hand in hand with the drug warriors. And part of the thinking that this is based on is that it's not a matter so much of what someone is like in their heart, how they treat their fellow man, whether you're honest and straightforward in how you live your life. The only thing that counts, according to this paradigm, if you will, is the only thing that counts is whether somebody is a drug user or not. It's not a matter of whether they cheat on their wife or steal or
pay their mortgage
or anything. It's just all you do is identify yourself. I don't do it, And do you have any comment on that?
No question. Drug users have been very effectively stigmatized by our approach to drugs, and the result of that stigmatization is to make things worse. It increases the chance of negative consequences. It means that, for example, a heroin user is going to be using in a shooting gallery rather than the clinic. It means that a marijuana user is going to be likely to be hiding from parents and authorities, and therefore smoking in a car, increasing the risk of a negative result. So the stigmatization of drug users actually makes things worse and makes the problems worse. And that's why after the last decade, we have spent, as a federal government only, about $200 billion on the drug war. $200 billion with a B. And if you add the state and local governments, it's about equal to that. So you're talking approaching $500 billion on the drug war in the last decade. And the result, we have the record high overdose deaths last year. We had near record high emergency room admissions. The year before was the record. Near record high emergency room admissions of drugs at the hospitals. Half of new AIDS cases coming from IV drug use. 90% of pediatric AIDS cases coming from IV drug use. 65% of women with AIDS coming from having sex with an IV drug user or using IV drugs themselves. Adolescent drug use increasing by 50% while we're spending nearly $500 billion. And this is happening, all these failures are happening at a time when we're having record arrests, record incarceration, and record seizures. In other words,